Hi, thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to discuss dual occupancy designs and the common mistakes that we see other people making. So stick around because these are things that you really want to avoid. Whether you're considering a dual occupancy project or any other type of new property, these are things that you want to be aware of. Okay, the first one I want to talk about is the wrong design for the area. I see this a lot. People will come from interstate, they will come to Queensland and they'll say they want to build a dual occupancy and they'll bring some designs from Victoria or Western Australia or some other place. You need to understand that designs that work from other areas in other states may not work in the specific area that you're looking at. You really want to know what works in that area. This works into understanding the local council rules. What can be approved in one local government area may not be approved in another local government area. When you're looking at somewhere like Queensland, each LGA has their own set of specific rules. So a design that works in one LGA will not work in another. So bringing designs from one area to another just doesn't work. You need to understand the specific area and what type of designs are going to work there. Within your local council area, you also want to understand what people are looking for. I see it commonly where people overspec or underspec. Remember, there's a lot of difference in the rental market and the on-sale market from different areas. What you get in a high-end suburb is going to be a lot different to what you're going to put into a greenfield area. You don't want to overcapitalise and you don't want to undercapitalise. And this comes a lot into your inclusions and your designs. So make sure that you're designing for the specific area that you're in. What you do in Logan's going to be a lot different to what you're going to do in Broadbeach Waters, for example. We had another video where we looked at the high-end product that was available in Broadbeach Waters. This is going to be a lot different to a new project that's done in somewhere like Logan or the north side of Brisbane. These are different areas and require different designs and different specifications. It also depends on what your focus is. If your focus is yield and capital growth, or whether you're focused just on yield, this is going to determine the types of inclusions and property that you build. Know what's popular in an area, know what people are demanding in the area, and create your build around that demand. That brings me into the next point, which is designs that aren't designed for the specific block of land. Every individual block of land has its own constraints and nuances, and each design needs to be designed for the specific block. This becomes a problem when you deal with large project builders. Large project builders want to just build their standard designs, and I understand why. Building a standard design is more efficient for them and it saves them money. However, it won't give you the best result. If you go into a lot of these large project builders, they'll say, yes, here are our 8 duplex designs. These are the designs that we're going to build. This one fits on your block. But is it the best use of your block? In most instances, it won't be. In most cases, you'll need a specific design for your block, which is not what the large project builders want you to do. They want you to build their cookie cutter designs that they can build with their bill of quantities over and over with the same trades and stamp them out. But what you want is the best use of your block. It's very unlikely that one of their 6 or 8 duplex designs is going to fit your block. You need it designed specifically for the best use of your block. I see it a lot where people ring up and they say, show me all your designs. Show me your block, right? I can show you 100 different duplex and dual occupancy designs, but most of them aren't going to work for your block. You need a design specifically for your block. There's no point going and falling in love with a design that doesn't work for your block. The aspect may be wrong. There could be all sorts of different issues. You really need to make sure that the design is designed specifically for that block, or at the very least the adjustments are made so that you're making the best use of your block. Something that I commonly see is people trying to skimp on price or trying to squeeze too much in, and they make the rooms too small for the rental market. I see it a lot where they'll go, yes, I can squeeze in another bedroom. Suddenly they go from 3 bedrooms up to 4 bedrooms. They could have had 3 good bedrooms. Instead, they've got 4 very small bedrooms that no one wants to rent. Make sure that you're not trying to squeeze too much into too small a space at the expense of what people want. Nobody wants to be in a 2 by 2 meter room. You may have to sometimes have less bedrooms and make them better than trying to squeeze too much in. You need to make the best use of your block of land, but don't try and put too much in there. Make sure it actually works and it's functional. When your designer looks at it, they need to be looking at the overall plan, putting furniture in there, making sure that it actually works, right? They need, if there's a living area and there's a kitchen, can you actually fit couches in there? Can you fit your table in there? All these things matter with your design. People look at the designs on paper, but they don't actually understand when they're built whether they're going to work. You need a designer and a builder that understands this, that's been through a lot of builds and can tell you that's too small, that's not going to work. Understand this, all right? Because for a lot of people, they can see it on a piece of paper, but they can't actually visualize what it's going to be like when it's built. And remember, once it's built, it's too late to make changes. The changes need to be made at the start with the design. As always, if you're getting value from this video, please like and subscribe and hit the little bell so that you're notified with each new video that we upload. I've said a lot of the time they're too small. Another problem is that they're too big. This is a problem particularly in lower priced areas. People are making duplexes and dual occupancies that are just too big and they're not getting the yield. You need to make sure that you don't overcapitalize as well as undercapitalize. In a lot of these areas, you've got to focus on, is this extra space getting me more yield? And if it's not, don't make something that's too big. This is going to be different, obviously, to areas where you've got a higher on-sale value. But where you're in an area that doesn't have a high on-sale value, you want to make sure you're not spending too much by making your designs too big. Designs need to be efficient, right? The best use of space. You don't want useless space in your design. When you're looking at the design, it's important to analyze it with a few points in mind. Is it going to get me more rent? Is it going to rent faster and be more popular with tenants? Is it going to get more growth and more uplift, or is it going to sell quicker? And if it's not doing one of those things, then you probably don't need to include it. Brings me to my next point, which is wasted space. A really good designer will utilize every bit of space. This is really important in areas where you've got restricted sizes. For example, if you're building a dual occupancy auxiliary in the Logan City Council area, you're going to have a maximum of 70 square meters for your 2-bedroom, kitchen, bathroom, and living area. Now, that means you've got to keep it really, really efficient. You don't want any wasted space. Things like hallways take up room that doesn't really give you any benefit. You need the design to be as efficient and effective as possible. So make sure that your designer is utilizing every bit of space. It becomes really important which ways doors are swinging, where things are facing. All this becomes really, really important because you're restricted on space and every square meter matters. You need tight, efficient and functional designs. Every square meter matters when the council tells you how many you're allowed. You want to maximize your design and maximize your space. This brings me to the next point, which is you need to understand different construction methods when you're dealing with tight constraints. Bear with me because this takes a little bit to explain. If you're building out of brick veneer, it is far bigger than when you're building out of a lightweight product. So let's talk about the lightweight product, which is the Hamptons look that you see a lot at the moment. With the Hamptons look, using that James Hardie product, you will have far better use of space. I'm going to run through exactly how this works for you. With brick veneer, you'll have a 70 or 90 mil frame. Then generally, you'll have a 40 mil cavity for the brick and then 110 mil brick. So you're looking at the thickness of your wall being 220 to 240 mil. When you're looking at a cladded design, you'll have the 70 or 90 mil frame and then the 10 mil cladding. So you're looking at 80 to 100 mil. So you have the same external boundary on both of them, the same external distance to brickwork. However, one of them is a fair bit bigger inside. This makes a lot of difference on very tight designs. So let's look at the difference here in brick veneer versus lightweight. With brick veneer, you're basically looking at 140 mil thicker wall. That makes a difference when you're measuring to the outside wall on a very tight block. So if we had the same external boundary on both of these, we'd have a bigger internal area on the lightweight design. So on a low set of around 200 square meters, this can mean a difference of nearly 9 square meters. That makes a lot of difference. 9 square meters is the equivalent of a 3 by 3 meter bedroom. So just by changing your build product to a slightly different design and product on the same area, you've got 10 meters difference. That is huge and people don't realize it. So just by changing from brick veneer to a cladded design, same construction method, just different veneer product, you've got 9 to 10 square meters different on a lot of designs. That makes a huge difference. So now imagine the 140 mil on each side of your frontage when you've got a really tight block. That makes a lot of difference. It's nearly a foot difference. You may not think it makes much difference. However, if you look at a foot in a standard bedroom, you go from 3 meters to 2.7 meters, it can mean the difference between a functional design that works and one that doesn't. Make sure that you're working with a designer and builder that understands construction methods and how they can best use these for functional designs. Okay, lack of parking. This is a really big one. It happens with a lot of dual occupancies and dual occupancy auxiliaries. You've got to remember that when you go from one dwelling to two dwelling, essentially you double the amount of parking required. A lot of people don't use their garages and they park in the driveway. So if you've only got 2 spots in the driveways, it means only 1 car per house. Have a look at your designs and work out if there are ways of making more parking. Don't just go with the council code. If the council says that you have to have 2 spots out the front, that doesn't mean you only put 2 spots in. You could put 4 spots in, all right? Don't just rely on the council minimum. Work out how functional it will be and whether you can squeeze more parking in, because people love parking. They don't want to park on the street where possible. So make sure that if there's an opportunity to put more parking in, put it in. It doesn't have to be undercover, but just make sure it's off the street for your tenants or for down the track. When people buy these properties, they're going to want off-street parking. Try and maximise this as much as you can. Particularly when you've got a front yard that's wasted space, can you just put hard stand in there off the driveway? That makes a lot of difference. Just concrete pads for people to park on, and you can landscape around them. They're functional and they look good. Tell your designer and your builder you want to maximise parking where possible. You'll see these estates where they jam in too many. Cars are parked all over the street or on lawns. It doesn't look good. Make sure you do this at the start. Make it as functional as possible. Also remember that people have got to turn around as they come into these designs, so make sure you're actually working out whether there's going to be room to turn around. There's nothing worse than seeing cars parked all over the lawn. It just doesn't look good. So make sure you really try and maximise parking. It's something that's simple to do but makes a lot of difference. Inadequate separation. Remember that people don't want to be in each other's space. So make sure you give people their own private areas. It comes down to private open space as well. The way that you divide up the backyards in your duplexes is really important. And the same with dual occupancy auxiliaries. Make sure that each has their own private space. It comes down to design as well and making sure the acoustic transfer and noise minimisation is incorporated. Little things like making sure you haven't got the louder areas of the house backing onto each other. Have as much fire separation and acoustic separation as you can in those firewalls to make sure that the noise doesn't transfer. It makes a big difference down the track for both rentals and for on-sale value. And you've got to do this stuff up front. It needs to be done during the initial build, otherwise it gets expensive. Noise minimisation comes down more to your design functionality and your building products. So make sure that you get this done up front. Try and make sure everybody gets their own private areas and they're not in each other's space. And that comes down to noise transfer is one of the biggest problems people have in either apartments or duplexes or rooming houses. It's be fixed up in the design at the start. Brings me to my next point, which is designs that are overdone for certain areas. This often comes down to a designer that doesn't understand construction methods and doesn't understand where expenses in builds can add up really quickly. You see designers all the time, they'll put some fancy roof line or some internal walls that move around in different directions, not realizing the expense that they're adding to the build. You need to make sure your designer understands when they make changes, how that's going to affect the build price, because it may not make a lot of difference to the design, but it could add up. I see where you'll see designers that have put different roof lines, and where the firewalls are, you see the firewalls moving in different directions. You see hips and valleys on the firewall. It makes a lot of expense for not much gain. So make sure you're dealing with a designer and builder that can put functional, attractive, aesthetic designs together without over capitalizing on the price. They need to be efficient with their designs so that you're not paying too much for not much return. The designer needs to be doing this all the time. We've worked with designers over the years, and that's all they do is dual occupancy auxiliaries in a certain council, and they are so effective and efficient at maximizing space and keeping the prices low. They'll work on specific areas and they know it inside out. That makes a lot of difference. You get a designer that doesn't know the area and the council code really well, or the building and construction methods of the local area, and they just don't understand how to make it effective for the price. You've really got to be dealing with a builder and designer that know the area and know the product and the construction methods. It makes a lot of difference. Two-story designs where you could have had a single-story design. At the moment, two-story designs are very expensive to build, and in certain areas, they just won't work because they're too expensive. If you're dealing with a smaller block of land, know that the difference between building two-story and single-story is upwards of 100 grand in a lot of cases. So make sure if your block doesn't allow you to get a single level design on it, you're going to want to be getting it significantly cheaper. This is particularly in the further out suburbs. In your higher end expensive suburbs, building up doesn't matter because you've got the rental return or the on sale value. However, in a lot of these outer areas, greenfield developments, you want to try and keep it single level because there isn't the on sale or the rental yield, and when you're paying a lot more to build two-story, it just doesn't work as well. So when you're saving money on the block of land, make sure it's not creating too greater expense on your build. Not understanding what the market is demanding. That's one of the biggest problems I see. People have in their own heads, I want to build or design this, I want to create this product, but if the market doesn't demand it, then you probably don't want to be doing it. Understand what the market wants before you go and design and build your product. Otherwise, you may be putting all this time and effort into a product that's just not there. At the moment, the rental market and the sale market has been so strong that I think people can pretty much produce anything and it's going to rent. Know that this will not be the case forever. So understand which direction the market's moving in and what your product needs to be to meet that demand. Another issue I see is they're not consulting property managers. When you're looking to create a product and get a good yield, you really need to understand the local market and understand what renters are looking for. Property managers can provide you with invaluable advice on this. Talk to the property managers and understand what the market wants. And you can tailor your designs to the market. This will create a better yield and probably create better on sale value. All right, I hope you got value from that. There's a lot that goes into these designs. We've done hundreds and hundreds of them. If you've got any questions at all, ask at newproperty.com.au on the screen now. Send through an email and one of our experts will come back to you. If you've got value from this video, please like, subscribe, and tick the little bell so that you're notified with each new video we upload.